The Avalaunch transmission starts now.
All right. All right. Let's see. Yeah. All right. We're good to go. All right. How we guys do? How you guys doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Just got
Good.
back from a nice trip. It's exciting to be here.
That was you were at the Arlington, correct?
Yeah,
And the Arlington, for anyone that doesn't know, is what?
it is the parking lot city. There are a billion different parking lots. There's like 3 stadiums right next to each other.
Sounds nice.
Yeah. But now there's a Dota tournament there, and it was a good time. I enjoyed it.
Is that like known as one of the bigger ones, or is it just kind of one of many?
It's definitely one of many.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
It holds a lot of importance because it's actually a major, so that leads like the points that you accumulate during that tournament will decide whether you're going to be participating at the international or not, which is the big Valve tournament, the biggest esports tournament ever. Every
Okay.
year the prize money of that tournament keeps going higher and higher, beating out the previous year. Last year I believe it was $40 million, so we're
Jesus.
looking at something even higher than that, possibly.
Man. Yeah, it's always shocking to me these like prize pools, and how big this like these tournaments in this industry is. It's insane.
Mhm.
Um,
Here's a fun
but
fact for you, Mark.
let's hear it.
I don't know if you know this, but Brax and I
Probably
played
don't.
in 2 of them together.
Like on the same team.
Yes, on the same
Oh no
team.
shit. Okay,
Yeah.
when was that?
2013 and 14.
Oh my god.
Damn.
Yeah.
So long
They,
ago.
they were they
Memories.
were they were rough years, like when we were playing in them. But I'll tell you, like the fact that we even made it to that point, it's like a huge achievement. It's like a cutthroat game. Lots of people, competing all the time. They play
Yeah.
day in, day out. Uh, yeah, man. Like obviously, the competition gets harder and harder as you go on, or maybe we're just getting too old and we don't have like the same level of drive that we had when we were younger, and the
It's
younger
tough
guys
out
have
there.
that drive now. But yeah, I mean, I'm super proud that we were even able to participate in that big event.
Mhm.
It's like one of those things you look back on and you're like, this was a pretty unique experience. It's pretty cool. Um, as long as you don't look back at the placement, of course, and the years leading up to that. But yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Well, you guys have some serious history, which is very cool, and like we'll probably talk about some of that today. I mean, the like the topic, I guess, generally today is so the Web 2 to Web 3 and everything in between. So the good, the bad, the ugly, kind of everything that you have to consider, I think, to understand the transition, and I think you need to kind of get all of the nuances of it to be able to drive it forward. And I think we're all interested in doing that. So we're going to talk about a lot of interesting stuff, and kind of nothing I would say is off limits. Like I really want to kind of get into it, but before we really get going here, I think it makes some more formal introduction makes sense. And Brax, we'll start with you. I mean, it's awesome to have you here, and again, I really appreciate you making the time to come on. But just tell us a little bit about yourself, like who you are, what you do. I know you're ex Dota, now pro life person, which is glad to hear that. But for anyone that doesn't know, just like let us know who you are.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's Brax. I played Dota since pretty much forever, probably like the most of my adult life. Started in Dota 1, played Han afterwards, then played League of Legends for a little bit, and then ended up back at Dota 2 whenever that came out. And it's just one of these games. It's like I've been playing it for my entire life pretty much. So it's more than just a hobby to me. Like
Yeah.
I grew up with the people that were involved in Dota as well, pretty much. It's wild to see. Like when I went to this most recent tournament, people have kids. People are married.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's like 30 plus now.
Even. Yeah.
It's wild to see. Like it's something I definitely couldn't have imagined like 5-10 years ago. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I retired like a year and a half ish ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I've been full time crypto and Web3 for about a year and a half ish now.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, retired at an early age, and then and what kind of like stuff are you up to generally, like in crypto? It's like a pretty broad space,
Okay.
right? What kind of stuff
Yeah,
you do?
exactly. It's like it's like what does that mean, right? There's like 800 different sectors.
Yeah,
So
you could be up to some weird things, man. You know, I don't know.
yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm out there trying to hack bridges and
Uh-huh.
do all that kind of good stuff. But no, I'm involved with Nouns DAO, and they are working on or they've recently had a Dota proposal,
Uh-huh.
and I was super happy to be a part of that, just helping sponsor North America, who's notoriously they just don't have sponsors. Dota is a funny game where the players don't really have, or sorry, the organizations don't really have the power. It's more in the players, just because the prize pool is so concentrated into one single tournament that it's
Uh-huh.
very difficult for sponsors to stick around. They kind of get abused by the players in a sense, and it leaves a bad taste in a lot of these orgs' mouths. So it's awesome that I was able to be part of something. Nouns recently sponsored a Dota team, and they've signed them
Uh-huh.
through TI. So
Uh-huh.
it's a really interesting transition. I feel like so when people always ask about like Web3 or crypto, it's like, first of all, it's too difficult to explain. There's too many moving parts and things going on. But I feel
Right.
like the most important thing is definitely the ethos, the Web3 ethos.
Mm-hmm.
You look at these game studios, and it's just like they're doing everything possible to extract as much value out of each customer, and
Right.
it's like it's steadily like growing on the greed level, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you know, the whole point is to bring back the power into some of the players, right? Like you basically want to create a community where it's like modding games, right? Where you have everyone working on the same thing. Everything is open source. You can build on top of each other, and you can really grow and build an entire ecosystem that is just it works together,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where
Mm-hmm.
it's actually built to work together and people can add on top of it. And I feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of crossover there, and people don't really realize it or understand or really care about it, or maybe they, see some words they don't like, and immediately their connotation of it is just in the dumpster anyways.
Right.
So that's mostly what got
Right.
me interested.
Okay, cool. And it's when you say a proposal, like that sounds like a crypto thing. That sounds like a web thing, but it's not, right? Like what do you mean when you say you worked on a proposal?
So basically, Uh, for people who don't know, Nouns DAO is a group basically, and one Noun NFT gets you a ticket into this group where you can vote on things to spend the treasury on, basically. And Nouns cares a lot about proliferating the meme, spreading the name. They're really looking for brand recognition. Uh, they're not trying to sell gamers NFTs really at all. That's not their target audience. But they're basically just looking to do cool shit with their money and spread the name that way. So it's really interesting to me that esports is like one of these sectors that they had interest in.
Uh-huh.
And there were a couple like really, really passionate nouners like Brennan and Sasquatch out there who really did a good job of, pushing this and convincing other people that this might be a really, promising idea.
Uh-huh.
And basically the proposal is, you write up the details of what it is, the budget, how it's going to play out, the execution, and then they put it on chain for everyone to see and vote on. And that's pretty much it.
Right, right. And then from there, obviously someone has to accept that proposal, like from Dota, right?
Right.
So where is the link between Dota, like off chain, not crypto, not Web3,
Uh-huh.
and this organization? How do you like enact those proposals?
Well, that's where they found me. I guess I'm like the floater role.
Okay.
Sasquatch is also super into Dota. He's played for quite some time,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just been around. He knows people as well, and I knew him through a mutual friend, so we got connected, and then that's just how the conversation got started. Went around, asking teams, seeing if they'd be interested. Of course, some are very hesitant at first for good reason, right? There's a lot of
Yeah,
reasons to be skeptical, but it's also one of
for
those
sure.
things where like once you see it, it's a lot easier to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
idea sounds really outlandish, right? Like, why do they expect no cash flow? Why do they
Right.
expect no immediate return, right? Like, what is the ulterior motive here? What's the goal? So
Right,
yeah.
right. Yep, you're right about that. And there is like a lot of skepticism, and probably rightly so. And I think you're right in that, like once you can kind of see it and understand it a little bit for yourself, that helps. But what I actually think becomes more important is when people like you all, right, who have a history, who have a track record of like trust and like authenticity, are out here in front of it saying like, hey, yeah, this is worth checking out. I think that goes a really, really long way in easing people's concerns, which there are like a fair amount of. And it's definitely one of the reasons like we're really excited about BFG and like the network of people around it and having guys like you on and the stuff that you're doing. I wasn't even actually particularly aware of. I mean, that sounds like amazing. And I'll definitely look into that more. But perfectly in line with kind of what we're doing. And you one of the things that you said that was interesting about, I guess you could just say traditional game developers, is like they are looking to sort of extract at every point as much value as possible. And if you're not careful, like if there aren't people actively pushing against it, the same exact thing would happen in Web3 gaming.
Right.
If you allow people to be greedy, they will be greedy, right? And so we've seen some things that in GameFi that have looked like that. But what I'm excited about is very quickly there were people like you guys that stepped in and said, okay, no. There's really good things about this, and we're going to make sure that this is handled, in a way that's like productive. So, um, very, very, very cool stuff. Well, T-Van, I mean, what about you? Give us, people on this particular channel have heard your story a couple of times.
Yeah.
But for anyone that haven't, maybe give us a brief background on
Yeah,
yourself.
just a brief background, very similar story to Brax in terms of the Web2 world. Been doing Dota for 15 years now, starting from Dota 1, Dota 2, been a competitor, coach, analyst, broadcasting work, all that jazz. Won a few championships. Then most recently, I've been in crypto, playing Axie, have my own guild. I'm a co-founder there. I've won a season of Axie as well, season 20. Got first place during the time when it was like at the peak of the player base, had
Mm-hmm.
like I think close to 3 million daily active users.
Mm-hmm.
And now, just been working on Battle for Giostone as pretty much game balancing work, but I also have kind of a hand in almost everything that happens there,
Yep.
in terms of ideas for the game or even economy sometimes, or um, how to make things very appealing for not only people who want to play the game, but people who kind of just want to be a part of the ecosystem.
Right. Right. Yep. Yeah, and I'm kind of bummed we only have an hour here because like there's so much we could talk about with you two sitting here. But one question I just kind of I have to ask is like, why did you guys retire from like Dota? Like, something you loved and cared about. Like, what caused you to step away from it?
I guess I'll go first.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would say like my best year as a player was happening right as COVID started. Our team had a very high chance of making it to the international, and it got
Mm-hmm.
canceled that year, and all the
Yeah.
tournaments afterwards. And it's just a grind, and it's a major financial burden for a really long time. I think many players struggle in that department because in general, Dota players are extremely bad at content. They
Mm-hmm.
don't care to stream. They don't care to, try to make YouTube videos or grow their brand in any way. There's so much
Okay.
focus on TI that everybody just ignores everything else. So if you're not participating at TI, then it's really difficult to sustain yourself. And
Mhm.
it was a good opportunity for me to take a step back and try to figure out my life and see what I was really interested in and do all that, because you just get caught up in this cycle where it's your passion, it's your job, it's your hobby. Like it just becomes everything. It's absolutely life
Right.
consuming.
It's
And
like it's like a box, right? I mean, you and I have talked about this in the beginning. It's like you're stuck in this box and you
yeah,
can't look out of it when you're in Dota. Like Dota is this, like it's like a, I don't know, like a black hole that just sucks you in,
Yeah.
and you just get lost and you just tunnel vision towards this one goal. Especially as a competitive player, when you know that you're like you have the skill that rivals everybody else, like you're just focused on that, and then you're just like, oh, why can't it be me, sort of
Right.
thing.
right.
And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
keep going.
Well,
Sorry to cut you off. I thought I'd chime in
Nah,
there a little.
that was good. You just forget like everything else. Like
yeah,
everything else just gets put on hold pretty much while you're on your own little journey.
yeah,
And I was able to take a step back and really reevaluate my life and think about, there's just no perspective. There's no ability to have your own perspective when you're stuck in the cycle of the box, pretty much.
hmm
So yeah, once I escaped, it was pretty good. Like life was just better, honestly.
cool, cool. Well, I hate to break it to y'all, but crypto's not much different. Um, you say at least it's new, right? At least it's fresh, but you're kind of swapping one for the other, but
Yep.
that actually can be probably what you need, but to build and do good things in crypto, at least in my experience, and I've been doing this for a long time now. It's ruthlessly all encompassing. Like it occupies sort of every neuron of your brain, and that
Yeah.
can be good. That can kind of be good and bad, but just something to watch out for, I suppose. And having gone through that before, I think you're probably better suited to be aware of it. But what about you, Theban? Like, what caused you to retire?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I kind of did want to keep going, but and I got married. That was a big thing. Then I took like a break. I thought for a few months. And Dota is like kind of this game where if you do take a break or a long, like even a short break, it
Hmm.
takes like 3-4 times the amount of time that you took off to get back into the shape
Damn.
that you were, or in a position where people once again will want to play with you. So it's kind of difficult to like kind of get back into that. I also had like a really minor injury during that time, so that kind of extended my break a little. Then I had a baby, so I had to like change my plans and what I'm going to do. And I thought, hey, you know what? This is like a great time to just kind of settle down and look at other things to do.
Hmm.
And, there was crypto I was really looking to learn about. Then there was Axie, which was a game um,
Yeah.
in crypto. So that was like the perfect bridge for me to kind of, dip my toes in and learn about it. And same as Brax, like I never regretted it ever since, because I felt like there was so much more personal growth there in this past year while I was in crypto than I had, like, let's say the 10 years while I was
Hmm.
competing in Dota. The 10 years
Yeah.
were great for me. I had my ups, my downs, all these different life experiences. I've traveled plenty, but it was still like this one community that you're a part of, where I feel like in the crypto world, there's like so many multiple different communities that you can kind of like
Hmm.
chime in, understand, see why people do what they do, and you can bring now your expertise from the Web 2 world into the Web 3, because there's so little amount of these like actual expertise, like most of the
Right.
people just say they're experts, but they don't really understand like what the
Yeah.
hell they're talking about. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you got
That's
people like
true.
us who actually have gaming experience, who've seen it firsthand. Like I was there from the first ever international, so I understood like what it took from point A to point B. So
Hmm.
I'm just trying to
Hmm.
leverage that.
Hmm. Yeah, well, that makes sense, and I mean, I'm sure you don't regret a second of it. And you're right; it's like there are no experts yet. It's gaming, Web3 gaming is too new, and that's why I like speaking with and interacting with folks like you, who maybe it's not a one for one, but have kind of lived and breathed this industry and culture, and because of that, I think your perspective is like a clearer signal and
Hmm.
of higher value, um, and that's just sort of something that I've personally arrived at. I'm sure there's other ways to go about it, but um, Brax, as you're talking, I'm like wondering, like when you got into crypto, right? Like I'll just sort of generalize from Dota, whatever what you were doing before. Um, like, did you like? Was it gaming that got you in? Like, did it take right away for you? Like, what pulled you into crypto, and what did you start doing when you were like, oh, I'm into this?
All right, so this is actually kind of funny. It started with Axie. right? Because it's like the natural transition, and it's really funny that the basics of Axie kind of teach you like just how to use dabs, basically how to use all this kind of thing. And when I play games like MMOs, I'm actually the person who sits there at like level 4 and just sits in the auction house and just does that stuff. And that's my gameplay. That's what I enjoy doing in an MMO. I don't even play the game. I just sit there and trade things from town to town. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just weird like that, I guess. And
you like
so
it,
I really
whatever.
like, yeah. So I like the trading aspect a lot. I like markets, I guess. I like finance, and Axie was like the super easy transition just because it was a game. It was easy to understand, right? You can see I've definitely played card games in the past, and it's very it's not simple. It's just like it's an entirely new game to explore, and it's funny because this is what happens like in the past. Like when new games come out, it's about like discovering everything. It's about like learning how everything works together, figuring everything out for yourself. There's no guides. There's no like, you know, this is the best. This is the best way to do something. That doesn't really exist. It's more like this is good against this, and you know this happens to be more favorable against this kind of strategy. It's more of like a Pokemon kind of thing, right? Where like fire beats grass and that kind of logic, rather than this is just objectively the strongest thing. And so that always interests me because now you can sit there and dump a billion hours into something to play through, you know, different situations. And that's like the Dota appeal, where like the game is constantly evolving and changing. So you can sit there and play the same game forever. And I saw a bit of that in Axie, so I was really, really just deep in it at some point.
I'll give you a little bit more perspective because Brax and I actually got into Axie around the same time. We didn't get in together. Like I got in, and then I learned that Brax got in, and I was like, "What?" And then like we started chatting, and Brax was very much focused on like the breeding aspect of Axie. He loved the marketplace stuff. You know? He was like trying to figure out like, okay, how can I min max this? How can I get this to work?
That's the stuff I like too.
Exactly. And like me, I was there thinking about like, okay, how can I play to be the best player? Right. And like that goes to show the different kind of like, even though we come from Dota, we were competitors in Dota, like we had different things that we enjoyed in what we got involved in. And that's where like, you know, that's what thing Axie did really well is they had not community, but like they had something for everybody to do. Essentially. And that's kind of like what you want in Web3. And the reason why we jumped in is because there was this gaming bridge, like this perfect gaming bridge that allowed us to like learn about crypto and all this stuff. Brax went on like not even that long after. I think it was even like a month later onto like learning about NFTs, you know, different tokens, like trading stuff, and like he got really into the stuff that he enjoyed, where I kind of, you know, stayed and played Axie and, you know, became the best and whatnot. And it goes to show like especially in Web3, like from coming from Web2 to Web3, you just need to find that bridge that's like your niche, and you just like dip your toes in, you figure it out over like a month or so, and then after there, like the whole Web3 world is like your oyster. There's so many things that you could be doing.
That's what I dig about it. I mean, not just from an intellectual perspective, like we all got to be into something to be like healthy humans, I think. But from an opportunity perspective too, is like there's so many ways to slice this and so many roads to go down. I mean, it's basically endless. And so if like the technology itself appeals to you and you're like, shit, I want to be a part of this, and this makes me happy and turns me on, like there's something here for you. And crypto's that broad where it's possible. And I just think that's kind of like one of the coolest things about it. So Brax, you found Axie, and then like, were you like instantly like, did you sort of have the white light moment that like crypto people have, where you're like, oh shit, this is the new world, or was it like a slower kind of progression, like over, you know, maybe 6 months or a year or something like that?
It was definitely like the instant white light as you described it. Like I'm just sitting there going like, you know, there's so many positives to this. Like, how can this not just be an objectively good thing? Like at the time, people in like the Philippines, right, were making what, like multiples of their normal, you know, monthly wage just playing a video game. Like, how is that not just better for them at some point, right? Like the possibilities were pretty much endless. being able to get people bank accounts that never had access to anything like that is just better. I have some friends in South America who pretty much just denominate in USD because
Mm-hmm.
it is just better against their currency, right? It fights inflation a lot better. And there really are just a lot of use cases like that it's not hard to describe, but it's like it's hard to really have a contextual understanding of it until you really get in there and try it for yourself. Like
Yeah.
when I was first learning, people were like, "Oh yeah, the best way to get to learn things, just try it.
Yep.
See what it's like, see what happens, see how it works, and you'll
Yep.
get it. You
Mm-hmm.
just have to put
Mm-hmm.
yourself out there and be willing and open-minded enough to try to create a new perspective for yourself. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of the trick, and maybe even the hard part for some people is like because everyone's always asking like, they're like, how do I get in? How do I do it? And whatever. And the reality is I mean, you can start with some sort of basics, but if you don't have that personal drive and curiosity, right, to just figure out how to make those leaps on your own and dig in, and crypto's kind of just too wild. Like you
Yeah.
have to be able to sort of fend for yourself. And so a little bit of hand holding is cool because we all need that. But if you want to be into crypto, you have to be the kind of person that is a self starter in the sense that like how to follow the trail, how to separate the bullshit from what's real. Because we're still in this place with crypto where it's just like uh, it's too insane, and
Mhm.
so it can be difficult in that way, but also very 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 rewarding.
I
So, oh, go ahead.
sorry if I may
Sorry,
just like interject there a bit. I
please.
would also say like I think that philosophy is accurate if you're looking to be successful in crypto. I feel like there's a lot of people who in crypto who aren't there to like really, monetary, for example. They're
Uh huh.
just kind of there for like community,
Yeah.
right? And like understanding, like just to be a part of something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because like I think what crypto also creates is something where you can be with like-minded individuals like yourself, and they're just going to be happy with that. I know a few people like
Mm-hmm.
that already, like as
Mm-hmm.
of right now. And the monetary stuff kind of like comes along as time goes on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like a byproduct. And
Yeah.
I feel like the most successful people are because they saw it as a byproduct and not
Right.
like, yeah. So the idea of being like a self-starter, although I very much do agree, it could be very dangerous too. Like crypto, like you can get hacked, or if you don't understand stuff, this and that. But like, um, I feel there are people who are followers or just like want to just
Yeah.
be a part of something who just
Mm-hmm.
come into it. And
Yeah.
as for Brax and what he said about like the light bulb going off right away, um, for me it was also the same thing, but I just when he was talking about it, I realized like imagine in Dota, if it was something similar to what there was some kind of an economy or some token based stuff, uh, people who have some kind of a talent or a skill can actually monetize that in some way now, right? Like if
Right.
Brax and I, from the time that we were playing, we were
Mm-hmm.
grinding our asses off in Dota for like years and
Right.
years, and we never saw any returns because the only way we could get returns is if we won.
Yeah.
That's literally the only way. And there was
As like
only like
champion celebrities, like it's like yeah, it's like
right.
such a hard path. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And there was only like 100 people from 2011 to like 2014. There was only like 100 people in all of Dota 2 who could actually make a living off of playing the game, which is absurd thinking like
Yeah.
there's so many millions of people who play. Now, like for example, in Axie, even how it was mentioned, there was people in the Philippines during the super cycle or whatever it was who were making a lot of money. Even now, there's like thousands of people who make plenty of money because there's people who are coming into the game who just want to buy stuff. There are people who breed. There's people who win leaderboard placements. This is what Web3 opens up. If
Mm-hmm.
there was Dota, like has something like that,
Yeah.
for the like some kind of token economy, and they rewarded their leaderboard players and all this, you would see so many more people flooding into the game,
Right.
willing, like wanting to leverage their talents and being able to be rewarded like
Yeah.
them like by themselves and not have to rely on someone else to pay them. essentially.
It's a way to reward the passionate people who have been that just have been around forever, right?
Yeah.
Like yeah.
And it's like, and it's kind of like their business at that point though, right? Like you control how you can make money. Like you're talking about how Dota players, they don't like to make content, right? Just imagine like the only way that you can make money playing Dota, like unless you're a pro player, is by creating content. That's the only way. That's crazy. You know, like Web3 changes that, and that's kind of like what our idea with Battle for Giostone is as well. Is like we want to have this Dota element of like the gameplay, all this fun stuff that makes the game incredible, but combine it with, you know, the Web3 economics, you know, with the blockchain technology and all of that, and give these people who put time, sweat into the game, and give multiple people opportunities to be able to make money essentially as well. Like obviously, you know, I don't want to make that the focus, but it is going to be a byproduct. People who put their time and effort in, they will be rewarded naturally just because of how blockchain technology works.
So can I ask you more about the game, Steven? What is the thing you are most excited for?
Oh,
is it like
Mark
a single aspect?
Great question.
Yeah, Mark has heard me answer this a few times too, but like for me, the thing I'm most excited for is just being able to have this like amazing fun game that I had such a huge part in like being building, because I have this idea of what is fun for players, like through my history of playing these games and understanding not only for the players at the top, but players all the way at the bottom. We're talking like in Dota, if we're talking like, you know, 10 MMR players, I'm also considering them, you know, and what makes it fun for them. So that's like a huge thing for me, just being able to have all these people who, you know, would play the game and will enjoy it, and it's something that like I had such a huge part in creating. And I feel like I'm just so confident that this is going to be one of the most fun games that people will ever play. And I think like everything else will come on its own. But if you wanted me to get into like more detailed stuff, we have like mechanics, or this new like it's a MOBA game, but there's like this new thing that nobody has ever seen in a MOBA game before, that is gonna be like mind-blowingly fun. Like conceptually, it's already cool, but I think in practice it's gonna be even more fun. I can't really talk about it right now. I'm not sure if like it's like public information quite yet, but when we do have that, you know, set and people can play it in our alpha testing as well, I think it's gonna be incredible. I just want our game to be able to like, I know it's gonna rival all these other MOBA games. It's a matter of time, right, for that part. But I know that our team is prepared for, you know, 5-10 years, like whatever long it takes, however long it takes to get to the point where it's like, you know, the quality is the same as, for example, Dota and League of Legends and whatnot.
So if like you're to ask yourself like 5 years ago, like would you have ever seen yourself taking this path? You know, being so hands-on on a game,
like building a game, you mean?
Right. That's crazy, isn't it?
No chance. I mean, this literally fell into my lap. Like it literally just fell into my lap. Like I never thought this was something that I was going to do. It just kind of like the stars all aligned, right? And if I wasn't in Axie, it wouldn't have happened either, because Melee, our founder, he comes from Dota. He also comes from Axie, you know, like, so like that was again another bridge together that led into this point here.
Right, you're connecting the like-minded individuals, right, just within the community.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was kind of that. I was wondering that, like, as well as like, would you have ever built a MOBA on PC? You know, and I assumed the answer was no, and it like it kind of makes sense why. And another thing that like I wonder about and I'm curious about a lot, because like I was never deep in these communities like Dota, like League of Legends. They obviously have like a real specific and distinct culture that's like very, very ingrained and strong. But like both of you guys coming from those worlds, right? Like, is there any way to characterize or generalize like that group of players? And and furthermore, like, do you see that same thing being possible in Web3, or will these groups of people just have their own kind of ethos and characteristic? Like, more simply put, like, what do these MOBA players look like, and do you see them just sort of transplanting over here, or being an entirely new class of gamers in general?
Okay, so I think something that resonates a lot with both communities is definitely like the game is complicated. There's a lot of
Yeah,
mechanics and things to figure out on your own, and that always leads to finding other people to discuss things with and to try to interact that way. That's why, like, when you're watching streamers, right, they'll be sitting there explaining things, or people will be asking questions about X, Y, and
right.
Z. And there's so many complex moving parts that it's really difficult for people to figure out on their own. So they tend to just look for other people to play with, of course, and to
Hmm.
just talk about the game. So it's really passion driven. It's really community based, and like Riot has done a phenomenal job of building extra content on the outside to just grow their universe, and Dota does it in their own way as well. Like they've got both companies have their extra media, right? They've got an anime or whatever. You have documentaries following the teams, showing their journeys and talking about their struggles and all that, and showing what it looks like to win and to lose, all the problems that come along with it. And I feel like it builds a more connected community that really cares and is trying to, do whatever it is they find fun, whether that's play with friends or learn or try to be a competitor.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I think to add on as well to that, like you're also asked about like MOBA players, right? Like who, like how they are, or is that gonna change anything? One thing I learned about MOBA players in general though is that there are these people who love endless people talk about endless game loop, right? Dota is like
Right.
you start a new game, but where's the endless game loop? The endless game loop is that you can never be the best in this game. Literally, you can never be the best in a MOBA game. It's like someone can be considered the best, but they never master the game completely because there's always something that they don't know, they don't understand. And that's why
Mhm.
I realize like the communities that are going to be coming into MOBA games in general, or like players who are going to be coming in, are people who are always looking to like kind of challenge themselves, or like challenges, or like
Right.
games where they feel like they can always think and learn and stuff. Like Max said, having people who always want to talk about the game, learn about the game, and whatnot. And we're not looking for just mobile players. I think anyone who just wants to be able to have fun and something where they feel like they can keep improving 1% every day is going to be the kind of game that we're creating, but
Yeah.
also the kind of game that MOBA is in general.
Right. It's
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
like a game you might play 10,000 games and never encounter the same situation again. Right. That
Right.
exact same scenario might just never exist.
Like fucking checkers. I mean, it's like elegant. It's like elegant game mechanics, right? Like that's what those are, right? Simple to learn, like low overhead, that can produce these experiences, new ones, into infinity. It's like basically the definition of elegant game design. And I, I'm curious, like, you know, one of the things I guess I should say that I'm excited about is like crypto moves super fast. So you see the rise of some games, there's some issues, there's some successes, but just as quickly you're seeing people trying to push it forward and evolve it. And from where I sit, in honest and sincere ways, and I think that's great. And so, as two guys who are looking at this stuff closely for different reasons, I'm just curious, like, outside of, let's say, Axie, let's just table that, um, because we both know you guys enjoy Axie. Are there any like Web3 games that you guys are playing, enjoying, that you think are doing cool things now, or no, or is it just doesn't exist for you yet?
I guess Alluvium is probably my top choice.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know much about it. Like I've seen the trailers, I've seen what the beta looks like. I know it's only like a really small portion of the game, so they're keeping a lot of things behind closed doors. But
Yeah.
it just looks like one of the more better developed games, and I'm interested to see like how well it can do. They have a pretty interesting model where they're trying to basically sell sponsorships within the game, if that makes sense. Like if you buy their highest premium tier land or whatever, like it's your whatever that's going to be featured on their grand finals of whatever tournament they run, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I just have no idea of the depth of how successful or lack of success it's going to be.
Yeah.
And it's just
It's
like everything's
anyone's
so
guess.
juvenile, right?
Yeah.
Like even like even esports Web2 stuff is really juvenile. Like they have
Mm.
unsustainable business models. Everything is like a you do it first and then you're hoping to be able to have things that happen afterwards to bring in new sponsors to keep it sustainable.
It
So
sounds
it's
like
like
crypto.
right, yeah, so a lot of similarities there, and they've been around longer, of course, but like it's a difficult space. Like there's so many problems, there's so many difficult things to overcome, and
Hmm.
I'm just curious to see like what's it going to be that really takes it to the next level. Because there have been games that
Hmm.
have tried, right? There's a lot of games that are out there and they flop or they just don't keep the mind share around,
Hmm.
and it feels like Alluvium could be something that actually you know um, captures some of that at some point. But I'm really interested to see how their stuff works out because it sounds pretty ambitious in my
Yeah.
opinion
Yeah.
to try to sell that. Like, I don't really know how many people are going to be interested, but yeah, I mean, I
Hmm.
hope for the success of Web3 games in general as a space to just bring the standard higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have certainly succeeded in setting very, very high expectations. They've done
Yes, for
that
sure.
well, which it also gives them now the responsibility to deliver. And if they pull that off, based on the expectations that they've set and the money, quite frankly, that they've raised, that would that will likely be a tremendous game. What about you, Theban?
So for me, it's I don't have a specific game that I can really mention, apart from Battle for Giostone.
Yeah.
But I will say though,
What a
no,
show.
talking about Illuvium, it's like um, looking back at Web 2 world and what's been successful. Auto battlers in general, like I was one of the best players in one of the top two auto battlers essentially in Dota, underlords and stuff. But auto battlers in general are just like kind of a dying breed of game. It had its
Hmm.
moments, people enjoyed it, but it's just not visually attractive. I think any game that's going to succeed needs people to have like need to be able to enjoy watching it from
Hmm.
a
And
viewer
so,
perspective.
what are some examples of some popular auto battle titles?
Auto battle titles, TFT, Team Fight Tactics.
Uh
That's
huh.
pretty the Battlegrounds from Hearthstone,
Uh huh.
right? None of these really have giant viewership. It does have viewership. TFT has plenty of viewers, but it's more like a niche kind of game where you compare it to games like MOBAs and um, first person shooter games. Like these are the games that have crazy amount of viewerships because
Yeah.
and most of the people who watch those don't even play, right? It's very
Right.
much like sports. You don't watch, you don't sometimes you don't play basketball, but you watch the NBA finals. Yeah,
Hmm.
because you just like it's just really fun and entertaining to
Hmm.
see that.
Hmm.
So that's why I think like games that will be successful or games that interest me are ones where like I can sit on my couch, I can turn on my TV, and I can just sink few hours into something and not even realize that that time is passing by me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the idea that games are entertainment in the same way that sports can be. I mean, it's funny because like that's proven. The revenue is there, the users are there, the viewership is there, and people still have like such a hard time believing and wrapping their head around that someone's going to sit there and watch someone else play a video game.
Isn't that
It's
funny? Like, if you were to
Same as
take
sports.
Right. Imagine if you had like a GoPro on like, LeBron when he's at
Yeah.
practice, right? Like how cool would
Uh,
that be? Like, could you
yeah.
imagine the level of content? What if they released that like a year later or something like the next season, right? So you're not like leaking their strategies and all that kind of stuff or
Uh-huh.
things people can really study. It's
Yeah.
it's kind of like that. I mean, that's probably like the most
Mm,
extreme case of it, but
this is interesting.
that is what it is realistically.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, I I've been learning personally through my work with BFG and just well, like I've always played video games. I've been a gamer my whole life, but was never into MOBAs. I was never terribly into like real time strategy games. They just kind of like weren't my thing. Have been over the last kind of 9 months to a year now, going a lot deeper in the culture and gameplay and industries and just learning a lot more about it. But one thing I'm still kind of like not clear on is when people talk about MOBAs, excuse me, they talk about Dota and League of Legends, right? Like, are those the? Are there any other MOBAs that sort of fit in that sentence?
There's a lot of titles that
I
have
know there's a lot of
tried.
titles,
There's
right?
like Smite and like these like the Marvel ones, DC ones, a bunch of
Hmm.
other like Star Wars MOBAs. Like there's
Heroes
like
of the Storm.
Heroes of the Storm, Pokemon Unite. Like you got mobile MOBAs as well and stuff. It's just
But
that
nothing's come close, right?
nothing has ever come close to those two, just because of
And
one,
why
their
is that?
sheer player base. Their player base, like for example, Dota's viewer base is literally players who played from 15 years ago, Dota 1. The
Right.
same people who played Dota 1 have stuck around and played and watched the game since then. Like
Isn't
Dota
that
rarely
sad?
gets new people. It's sad, but it's crazy because you got all this like um all these guys who are so passionate about this game and they love it, and yet
Hmm.
every year, this crowd-funded tournament, the international, has more and more money
Yeah.
being
They just
funded
Yeah.
never
by the
found
crowd.
anything better to do, I guess, with
Yeah.
their time, huh? They're
They
still
they
around.
just
Well,
it,
that leads to like my next question, and is like, are these guys hungry for a new game to become successful, or are they
mhm.
just happy with these games? Like, is there an appetite? Obviously, I assume with such a large
Yeah.
genre that there's titles coming out all the
Mhm.
time that just flop, no one cares about. But like, are the people that are like hardcore Dota, hardcore League of Legends, like, are they even interested in new games? Like, is there a need for it?
I feel like what Pokemon Unite is probably the thing that has captured like the most amount of eyeballs in terms of new users, right? Like
Hmm.
it's much more casual, it's easier to get into, it's got mobile support, right? Maybe it's only mobile, I'm not really sure. But yeah, Theben, is Battle for Geostone gonna have mobile support at some
Yes.
point? Cool. That's pretty important.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I think to answer that question, they don't like in the Web 2 world, those people don't care about a new game, most of them. They're not
Hmm.
looking for a new game. But there are ones who are interested in Web 3 and they are hungry for a game that's like Dota
That I know.
or League of
That I
Legends,
know.
that they want in this ecosystem so that they can utilize blockchain technology.
Right.
They
Right.
want to have player owned assets. They want to be able to use whatever time, effort in the game, their skill, be able to leverage it in other ways that Dota and League has never allowed them to do so.
Right.
So
Right.
for that reason, there's so many of those guys, it's gonna be a snowball effect at some point.
It's
Right.
Where
funny when sorry to interrupt.
it's okay.
It's funny when people mention player-owned assets, right? Like people that are unfamiliar, they pretty much equate that to like really greedy developers, like with like DLCs or like more content you have to pay for. Like that is the natural like translation when people that are not accustomed hear that. And
Hmm.
it's funny because like from using and just watching, like it looks to me like it's the Steam marketplace where like for people that are unfamiliar, common items can be purchased for like a penny, 2 pennies,
Yeah.
and then rare items that are exclusive or like only gotten through really difficult means. Like Theben got some cosmetic through some crazy grind where it was like only the top like 10 fastest teams in this mini game were able to claim like this, this extremely unique cosmetic, right? And
Right.
it's like those have value just because of how exclusive they are. But
Hmm.
putting the assets in the hands of the players basically just means a better experience for everyone, in my opinion. Like if you play Fortnite, if you play League, you're basically just fed these skins on rotation, or Valorant, where like um, they try to FOMO you in a way where like the shop is only there for 24 hours and then it resets with the new set of skins.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you see something you like, you're more likely to buy it in that moment, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Right.
And in a
Yeah, of
player-owned
course.
economy, there's a really high chance that this is just a common skin, right? There's an abundance of this skin, and you're going to be able to buy it for cheaper than the market price that the organization tries to sell it for you.
Hmm.
And that to me is just a plus entirely, right? Like when I'm in Dota, like if I see something that's cool, I'll go buy it for 5 cents. Like I won't even think anything of it. I'm just like, this is awesome that I can buy any skin I want for so cheap and it's so accessible.
Hmm.
And I'm pretty sure like that is what most of these things would evolve into. It's not going to turn into some extremely predatory thing where, they're just trying to milk you of all your money and just extract everything. It really just is about, redistributing the power into the players. And I can see exactly why corporations have zero interest in this as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
From a monetary perspective, like why would you
exactly.
want to give your pie away to the players? But at the same time, like you can see that the Web3 ethos has created these communities that truly, truly believe and love this stuff because,
Yeah.
they found like-minded individuals, right? They have done this together, and they're also like the forerunners of this as well. So it's just an entirely different perspective that I think a lot of the world can't really conceptualize yet because it doesn't sound real. It doesn't sound like something that they've even considered. They just see they just see one bad thing and try to convince themselves that that's what this is as well.
Right. Well, I mean, the way that these things have traditionally operated, and like your point about only this small segment of Dota players making money, like I mean, that's just the fact that they make any money at all is actually kind of like a good thing. I mean, historically, the games have been you pay us and we give you an experience, and that's the end of our relationship, right?
Right.
And so this is kind of business as usual. And the idea that there are, Dota tournaments and that prize pools are millions of dollars, and maybe I'm kind of stepping out of my lane here because there's a lot I don't know, but yeah, it's going to a small amount of people, but like, hey, at least it's going to fucking someone. But what I think will happen here, and I think the games that will really succeed, and I think it is possible, is when developers realize and are able to architect economies that will include player-owned assets, revenue sharing, giving back more of the success of the game that is a result of the players to the players, the ones that figure out that by doing that, they can actually make more money than if they didn't,
Yeah.
right? So there are systems here that can be designed, and this is just profit motive, but it's good news for everyone that will say we have made more money now by sharing it than we would have if we didn't. That just needs to be worked out and designed. And the
Hmm.
first game that's able to do that, then it's on. Then it's on. Then it's over
Yeah.
because the precedent has been set. Anything less than that will feel subpar, lacking, and that I believe will be the real seismic track shift that's going to kind of change these things. And with Dota 2 and and League of Legends, like, do you guys foresee these players coming over to like let's just say BFG, not because they're drawn in by the new world and the player owned assets and giving back to the players, but because it's just a better game or a comparable game, and they're
Hmm.
going to uncover this stuff later? Or do you think they're capable of understanding and leading with the power of Web3? Because I suspect a lot of these people are just going to be like, hey, I want to try the ban BFG game and then, uncover this stuff. But I don't know that they're going to be really drawn in by the things that we're talking about and we're excited about. But I don't know. What's your opinion?
It'll take time. I think that's the only thing I can tell you is that it's gonna take time. These guys who play League, play Dota, they're very stubborn individuals, but at the same time, that stubbornness is why they've been there for that long and are so passionate, right? So you just have to like let things play out on its own. There's gonna be people who are gonna be part of the game because of blockchain technology, or going to be part of the game because they just want to try something new, and then we kind of build on our own foundation, our own community, which then starts bleeding out to other communities, and other communities start realizing, oh, there's so much, what is this, or where the potential there, and like the word will get out that this is a dope game. And as soon as that happens, those guys, those stubborn individuals, eventually they will have no option but to at least give it a chance, and they will be coming in.
Well,
yeah, I think what
go
sorry,
ahead.
I just want to say real quick. I think what you guys both said is like the goal, right? Like, you just want it to be a good game, right? That way, the things I care about that 99% of people just absolutely do not even think about or care at all about, right? They have zero value on that. Just find it interesting, right? Because
it's just
once you
gravy.
have once you just have the good game, like, does it even matter anymore? Like, what's behind it? Like, those are all bonuses. These are all add-ons. These are all things that they'll discover just through getting, deeper and deeper into the game. And that is truly the biggest marketing, right? Just having a game that's fun to play, a game that people enjoy, something new.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I've always saw it, is like, again, going back to the status quo. Um, you know, I download iPhone games and whatever, like casual games, and I'm paying you, right, and then I'm giving you more money, right, and I'm not getting anything out of this. So, and I'm fine with it. Like, that's just the way it's always been. I'm paying for the experience. So if somewhere in there was some small amount coming back to me, I think people underestimate how huge that is, right? It doesn't need to be $30,000 to be valid, So I think everyone needs to reframe their expectations around what these rewards and value coming back to the players looks like, for one. But two, if you focus on the game experience, and what game mechanics are now possible that weren't possible before because of Web3 and because of blockchain. You focus on that, and then you reverse engineer you back into the ways in which this value can be distributed. Then you have a workable model. It's when you start reverse that you're in trouble. And since I know you have a hard stop here in, looks like 2 minutes, and I want to respect your time, man. I could really, this has been cool, man. I could talk about this for a lot longer. So you ever want to do this again, let me know and we'll do it. But yeah, this is a kind of a final question, I guess, for Theban. And in your ideal world, right? When people talk about MOBA, it's like Dota and League of Legends, right? Do you want this to be Dota, League of Legends, and BFG, or do you want it to just be BFG, right? Because
I just want
they're
people.
different.
Right. I just want people to enjoy our game. That's it. I don't care. Like, if we're in the name of with Dota or League or whatever, I think as long as people enjoy a game, which stay true to what we believe and what we're building, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. I think everything will come naturally. I don't want to force a situation where like and put ourselves in, like to compete with these guys. I think the competition will come on its own. Everything will come on its own as long as we develop the fun game with a economy that was built by learning from other economies and failed economies and successful economies and whatnot, and keep building on that and always strive to be better. It'll all sort itself out.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean, there's so much we didn't like touch on today, and a lot of it was around like competition and sort of the differences between these two communities. But we'll save it for another time. But overall, yeah, man, I really enjoyed the talk. Again, super appreciate you making the time, especially you, Brax. I know our community really appreciates it, and you know, these kinds of perspectives are, I think, so valuable. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to get them out there and have guys like you and Steven come on and share your thinking on it, because I really do believe this is what is what's going to push this stuff forward the fastest. So
Mhm.
thanks for your time, man, both of you. Thanks for your efforts, you know, in these other areas that like, you know, that you're working on. I wasn't aware. I'll definitely check it out. Sounds very cool. And yeah, let's keep fighting the good fight. And hopefully we can do this again soon.
All
Yeah,
right.
thanks for having me. This was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Glad to hear that, man.
Thank you
All right,
guys.
you fellas enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
See you.